Under the same moon, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And now do we stand in love's pure might, watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. Now do we stand in love's pure might.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World News at Noon. We have so much to cover today. Each and every day, there seems to be another crisis at hand. Did you hear about what happened in Utah with 3 women losing their lives? Such a sad moment, but we will be covering that case as well. We might have to be boots on the ground in Utah for another reason. Already I'm covering Tyler Robertson in regards to Charlie Kirk, but it looks like we have new developments. So we're going to get right to it. Today we're going to cover a lot of ground in regards to what's happening in Iran. A lot of people are concerned about that. We're also going to still continue to cover Nancy Guthrie. As you know, I was boots on the ground. Also, we're going to take a look at why everybody is pointing fingers at Donald Trump's son, Barron, saying he should go and fight in the military. Let's get right to it, folks. Thank you. As you come in, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. I see some fabulous people here already. We have Stella, Animals, we have Marissa, and Deborah, and so many more. Thank you so much for all your participation. It all goes so far. Let's get right to it. Let's see what's happening in regards to Utah.
We're going to get to all that and much more, but first we got to begin with that breaking news overnight out of central Utah. If you live in Wayne County, you're being advised to stay inside and lock your doors this morning while police search for a suspect they say was involved in a, quote, suspicious death.
We've since learned there are 3 victims in this case. Authorities are searching for a suspect vehicle with neighboring counties assisting. Let's go live to Torrey where we find ABC4 anchor Sarah Murphy. Sarah, good morning. What do we know right now?
Hey, you guys, it's an anxious morning here on this Thursday. We're live in Torrey, just off of Main Street. This is in Wayne County. Just for some perspective for you, this is a very, very small town, population around 300 or so. This entire
Population 300 people. Sounds like Mayberry, right? That's a small town, folks.
Your community, as well as the rest of Wayne County, has been under strict instruction by the sheriff to stay inside with your doors locked overnight because a suspect is on the loose after they found 3 women dead. 2 of those women, police say they found on a hiking trail. The 3rd, they say they found inside a Wayne County home. We know their ages. One is in their 30s, another in her 60s, another in her 80s. And tonight, again, they've been under lockdown, but that anxiety, we are expecting that to continue over the next little bit. And we've listed out.
Okay, guys, Marissa says, I read somewhere that he actually may be too tall to be in the service. I'm not sure if he actually, if that's actually a thing. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Thank you.
A few things that are going to be affected here in Wayne County. I want to show you that. Number 1, all schools in the Wayne County School District shut down for the rest of the week. Today, Thursday, and tomorrow, they're going to be closed down. Also, the Wayne Community Health Center in Bicknell closed today as well. And the Wayne County Courthouse in Loa also shut down today.
So this is so extraordinary that they shut down the local schools until they figure out what's happening, especially 3 people losing their lives out of 300. That's something to think about.
Again, investigators are looking into what's happening. They are searching for that possible subject. Several agencies involved at this point, but they're taking those extra super abundant precautions to make sure everyone is safe out there as they continue to follow this active homicide investigation. Live here in Torrey this morning. Sarah Murphy, ABC4 News. Matt and Alyssa, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, so in regards to that case. I'm pretty sure a lot of us may not have heard about it, but now we're going to take a look and see what the update is in regards to this case.
Welcome back to Good Day Utah. We continue to follow several active situations happening across the state this morning.
We want to start in Wayne County. That's where law enforcement now has a person in custody in connection with a triple homicide that was reported yesterday afternoon. Fox News reporter Julia Sandor is on her way to the scene right now in Wayne County. She joins us live to break down the latest developments that we just learned about a half an hour ago. Julia, good morning.
Of public safety says a man is in custody after investigators tracked him down in one of the victim's cars in another state. And we actually just looked. We're about 20 minutes out from the Wayne County Sheriff's Office.
Wow, he was actually driving one of the victim's cars. They found him in a different state, so that wasn't a bright idea.
And looked at the map to see where that car was found, and it's about 6.5 hours away. And DPS says the car was tracked through southern Utah into northern Arizona and eventually into Colorado. Colorado law enforcement found the car abandoned in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. After a brief search, they took the man into custody without incident. The investigation continues as members of the state's Bureau of Investigation and the Utah Crime Lab process 2 crime scenes in the Lyman and Torrey.
So in this case, at least with all of the lockdown with the children, the closing of the schools, at least they can breathe a little bit now that the individual, allegedly the person they suspect, has also been locked up. So that probably takes a little pressure off. Unlike what's happening over in Tucson, Arizona, they still don't know what happened with Nancy Guthrie.
Area. Now, this all unfolded around the small town of Torrey, about 8 miles from Capitol Reef National Park. DPS says yesterday afternoon, someone reported.
That's so true, AI starseeds. The suburbs are the most violent. That is the case, and many times we find that to be true. Thank you.
Finding 2 women dead on a hiking trail. During that investigation, officers found a 3rd dead woman at a home. Not much is known about the victims except their ages. One was in her 30s, another in her 60s, and another in her 80s. Wayne County School District posted to Facebook last night saying schools will be closed today and tomorrow out of concern for public safety. They'll have.
Animal says, look at the small town has a suspect. Small town Arizona can't find any. That sucks. Okay, thank you.
Counselors in place for students next week. And it was not immediately clear if the vehicle they tracked down was the Subaru that they've had people on the lookout for all morning. But right now, investigators say there are no ongoing threats to the public, and they're not looking for any other suspects. And we're heading to Wayne County Sheriff's Office right now, where they're going to be holding a press.
All right, so you get an idea. Looks like this happened. They seem to have a handle on it. At least they arrested someone driving one of the suspects, one of the victims' cars. That makes it seem like they really have this down pat, perhaps. But you know what's interesting over in Arizona in regards to Nancy Guthrie? They have the Navy. They have so many people wanting to engage in searching. In fact, when I was there, many went out to search. But the sheriff did not want people out searching, especially on private property. But they set the tone that they did not want people just walking looking for Nancy. You have to wonder, why is the sheriff turning down all of this help from outsiders wanting to come in and try to figure the case out? So we're going to get to that a little bit later, but this case really helps me think about that as well. Now we're going to take a look at why Donald Trump is getting so much blowback in regards to him creating a war. And many people are trying to say it's a distraction from the Epstein files. What do you guys think in regards to that? Do you think that's just someone gaggling? But tell us what you think in regards to that. But today we're going to see how many are saying that Barron Trump should set the example and actually go and fight in this particular war or campaign, whichever way they want to call it. Let's get to it.
All 4 of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's sons served in the American military while their father was serving as commander-in-chief.
Hi, gents.
Leading this country to victory in World War II. It was unthinkable then that a wartime president could have sons who would not serve in the military, like Donald Trump and his sons and daughters. Abraham Lincoln's son enlisted during the Civil War. No one expected President Lyndon Johnson's daughters to serve in the Vietnam War in the 1960s before women were allowed full participation in military service. But
Okay, guys, Barry says, is it not an attempt to take away focus from the Epstein files? Thank you very much. Jeff says, some in the community did not let law enforcement search their land. All right, thank you.
President Johnson's son-in-law served in Vietnam. The Trump family's flawless record of avoiding military service would be unremarkable if Donald Trump never started a war. But when your father starts a war, an illegal and unconstitutional war, and you are of the age that is...
Did you hear what he said? Illegal and unconstitutional. What do you think about that? Does anyone in the audience agree with what he's saying so far?
Eligible to fight and die in your father's war, what do? There is no suspense tonight about what Barron Trump will do. He will do nothing. In 2 weeks, he will have his 20th birthday party. It will surely be a lavish affair. None of his friends will show up in military uniforms. No one who Barron Trump has ever been in a classroom with is likely to have joined the military. Donald Trump has been quoted by his former White House chief of staff saying that soldiers killed in...
Guys, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notifications so you know when we have these shows. We have a deep dive tonight in regards to Nancy Guthrie. Also talking about the Epstein files a lot. Tomorrow we'll be having news at noon again at 12 Eastern Standard Time here broadcasting from New York.
In combat are suckers and losers. What does that make a soldier who wasn't in combat and is killed? What does that make a soldier who was an IT specialist, who was never supposed to be exposed to anything more dangerous than a computer?
Okay, so T-Dog says, so Barron doesn't have a choice. We get to make the choice for him. All right.
Computer screen who got killed in action, sitting in what was the safety of his office until Donald Trump started a war. Barron Trump will not be attending Declan Cody's funeral. Barron Trump, like every member of the Trump family, has never attended the military funeral of someone that they know who was killed in action. Like Barron Trump, Declan Cody was a college student, a sophomore at Drake University, and an Army.
Marita says, leave Barron in peace. All right, thank you very much. AI says, George Washington Bush was enlisted. Okay.
Army reservist from West Des Moines, Iowa. He was an IT guy, an Army IT specialist. He graduated from Valley High School in West Des Moines in 2023. And he was one of the first American military personnel killed in Donald Trump's war. The others in the first group of names released were Captain Cody Cork, 35 years old, from Winter Haven, Florida. Sergeant First Class Noah Tejans, age 42, from Bellevue, Nebraska, and Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore from...
All right, so for those that are just coming in, we're having a look at this big debate that's online, especially, in fact, we have a lot of people here from Twitter or X. A lot of people are saying that Donald Trump should set the example and let his son go to the military and serve for a war or a campaign that he has started. In fact, this particular network is calling it unconstitutional and illegal. But what's most important, we want to hear from you guys. What do you think? You think that this is just a smear campaign against the president of the United States? Or do you think there's some credence here? Tell us all about it.
White Bear Lake, Minnesota, who was 39 years old. Tiffany Trump is 32 years old and eligible for military service in her father's war. No one in the Trump family will ever have any idea what it's like when they come and ring your doorbell. Declan Cody's father, Andrew, said that the family began to get worried on Sunday when Declan stopped responding to messages from his duty station in Kuwait.
I will say most of us started to wonder, and your gut starts to get a feeling. And then we go to bed fairly early, so we got ready Sunday night to go to bed, and we had just turned the lights off and went into the bedroom, and the doorbell rang at 8 p.m.
Kira Cody is 2 years older than Declan and still thinks of him as my little brother.
What a tough story. Jeff says Trump oversteps the conventional way of governing. Okay. AI Starseed says Barron Trump is the only child he cannot be drafted, yet he can enlist. Okay. Thank you for the information. Shout out to New Jersey and good afternoon to you. Animal says, please, Utah, sorry to Mel. Okay. All right. Very good. Let's get back to it.
I still don't fully think it's real. I didn't think it was real when they told us. Because I just remember all of our conversations about what he was going to do when he came back. I just really wish I got to tell him I love him one more time, because he was just so amazing, and he always in front of everybody just was like really strong. He never let his emotions really show. But I don't know. I can't help but think just he was my little brother, and he was probably...
So she lost her brother in this campaign that's happening in the Middle East, and she's telling her side of the story and how sad of a story it is. Shout out to Portia3. Thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing to the channel.
really scared, even if he didn't want people to know. And so I just wish he could have known one more time that we all loved him, because he was so amazing and kind. And like my dad said, like he didn't like speak like that much, but like every little thing he did was just so, I know I'm just saying he was kind, but I don't know. He was just like the best little brother.
These are really tough times. I have a family member that just went out to Germany, so you can only imagine the thoughts that you have in regards to those that you love.
You could have.
Killed in the line of duty is always agonizingly tragic for the families.
Okay, Barry says, Barron serving is a risk to the service members. Sound him. Keep Barron TF out of our military. Thank you, Barry, for your participation. I look forward to your comments tremendously. Thank you. AI Starseed says Trump is doing fantastic. All right.
But when those doorbells were ringing in World War II, at least the families knew what the soldiers were fighting for when they died. During the Vietnam War, the doorbell rang for 58,000 American families, and they were told how the soldiers they loved were killed. But they still have never been told why. Donald Trump's reason for starting his unconstitutional and illegal war changes by the hour, just like everything else Donald Trump has ever tried to explain.
So let's hear from the comments of you guys, because that's what counts the most. So put a 1 in the chat if you think that this is a needed campaign. They're not really calling it a war, but if you think these actions are needed to protect the American people and individuals around the world, or put a 2 if you disagree with what's happening on the world stage with this campaign right now. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say in regards to this.
And on this, the 5th day of Donald Trump's war, 47 United States senators, including one Republican, Rand Paul, voted to end his war, while 53 senators, including one Democrat, John Fetterman, voted to let Donald Trump continue to do whatever he wants to do with the American military. Those senators did not specifically vote to authorize what Donald Trump is doing. They simply refused to vote to stop it. Even though Donald Trump has not been able to explain to anyone.
Okay, Kyle says, like his father, he's a coward. Okay, so you're calling the president a coward. All right, Barron. Okay, let's see. Admo says Barron would be washed out day 1 in training. Okay, thank you for your comment. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. Honeybee, welcome in. Nice to see you. Always a pleasure. Admo says Barron isn't an only child. Trump has multiple. Okay, so we have some pushback there. AI Star C says the only child between Melania and Donald J. Trump. Okay. Jeff says war is hell, and nobody wants to go to hell, folks. Jeff says, as a Navy vet, I believe, and thank you for your service, Jeff. Thanks for telling us your valuable experience. He says, as a Navy vet, I believe military service should be voluntary. Don't need someone serving that doesn't want to be there. It ruins the morale. Thank you so much. Animal says, sorry, Mel, the Utah story, please. Okay, thank you.
One of those senators, why he launched this war. You couldn't ask for more exhibitions of the vacancy and confusion of Donald Trump's mind during this war of his choosing, the mind that launched this war. Yesterday, Donald Trump said that his father who was born in New York City, was born in Germany. Now think about that. Think about how lost that mind is. That mind that is.
Guys, Gents says, I know a few people I am worried about. So a lot of us here are touched because we have individuals that are in the military and they're out there fighting for the country and they might be in jeopardy in some way. How we do worry about them greatly.
Supposed to be the mastermind of this illegal and unconstitutional war.
That country, UK, and I love that country. I love it. My mother was born there. I love it. My mother was born there. My father was born, right? He knows all about my father. My father was born there.
At least he knows where his mother was born. And we're giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt here because he never actually said the word German.
Guys, take a moment, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Jen says this is Israel's war. Okay, so we're starting to see the votes come in regards to the question. 1, if you think the war is legitimate. 2, if you think it's a bad deal. And it looks like we have more twos, a lot of twos. A lot of people are not happy about this war. It's nice to see your response. And what does this mean going forward? Are we equipped to take out Iran with all of their continued fighting and warring, especially when their fighting is associated with their God and their religion? The number 2 individual that was taken out, right? He was number 2 next to their God. So imagine if that happens for the average religion, people go crazy and you will never be able to shake them because they feel like it was a righteous cause for that individual being a key part of their belief system. But thank you guys. But it looks like a lot of people feel like this war is a bad deal. What will that mean going forward for the midterm elections or even when it comes to the ratings of the president?
About his father. He said his mother was born in the United Kingdom, and she was in Scotland. And then he said his father was born there, which could also mean the United Kingdom. But since he was pointing to the Chancellor of Germany, we assume he meant Germany because the Trump family is German. They are from Germany. And they fled Europe before Donald Trump's father was born to evade military service. That is the Trump family heritage. That is why Donald Trump is an American citizen. That is why his father was born in America, because Donald Trump.
Mr. Bill says another war with American money and American lives for the foreign country of Israel because they have a toxic grip through Congress and America. Thank you.
Trump's grandfather, Friedrich Drumpf, fled Europe to avoid military service. Another soldier killed in Donald Trump's war was identified tonight, 40.
Deborah, the question was for the campaign. They're not really trying to call it a war that's happening in the Middle East. Number 1, the question was, put a 1 in the chat if you think the war is legitimate. It's something very well needed. Or put a 2 if you felt like it was just a bogus war or perhaps some other motive. So far we're getting mostly 2s, but we look forward to your answer as well.
5-year-old Army Major Jeffrey O'Brien from Waukee, Iowa. The question tonight is, how many more? How many more Iranian civilians, non-combatants will be killed? How many more Iranian protesters against the regime will be killed? How many more of those brave women in Iran who stood up to the dictatorship devoted to crushing them will now be crushed and killed by Donald Trump's war? How many more American soldiers will be killed in Donald Trump's war? How many more doorbells will ring? And why?
Okay, so you see the twist that a lot of media is putting on this, actually having Donald Trump's own son called into question in regards to his service for the country as well, using other comparisons. We're going to move on to yesterday. There was a big conflict in the White House with the press conference. Let's see what happened.
You just mentioned that the president is going to attend the dignified transfer for these families. Given what Secretary Hegseth said this morning, is it the position of this administration that the press should not prominently cover the deaths of U.S. service members?
No, it's the position of this administration that the press in this room and the press across the country should accurately report on the success of Operation Epic Fury and the damage it is doing to the rogue Iranian regime that has threatened the lives of every single American in this room. If the Iranian regime had their choice, they would kill every single person in this room. And so we can all be very grateful that we have an administration and that we have men and women in our armed forces who are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the rest of us in this room and for every American across the country and for every troop that is based in the Middle East. That's what these...
Secretary Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the Secretary...
All right, guys, let's address the comment at hand. All right, because I get these comments all the time. So let's just take a quick break because attention is needed. Dennis says, know if you're going to cater to the Democrats and liars and cheaters, succubus, or our tax dollars for their enrichment of stupidity, I'll have to block and not recommend this channel. So this is the discussion that I've been having recently. We get people that come in for a brief moment and they try to put this channel into a box because we're covering all news. I cover both sides of the aisle. I don't really care what the angle is. I share it because I don't have an angle. But I would like for people like Dennis, before you come to these type of conclusions and you put your words boldly in the chat, stick around and try to figure out the big picture. Because we're more than just something that you could just put us into a box. I don't just post things for Democrats. I don't just post things for Republicans. I post whatever's pressing in the news so that you can see what's happening out there, because a lot of people are actually working. They're so busy. So here at Watching the World, you can come in and just see different news snippets. Now, whatever conclusion you come to or how you spin it, what you feel about it, that's your personal idea. That's at your own discretion. But keep in mind that for the most part, we're just trying to cover the news from a broad scale. So thank you, but I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Said, Caitlin, and that's not what the Secretary meant, and you know it. You know you are being disingenuous. There is not, we've never had a Secretary of Defense who cares more.
Drones get through or tragic things happen. It's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad. Yeah, as you know, we cover the deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact. Especially you. No, listen to me. Especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that. You also had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Chairman Kane, who's a brave patriot standing alongside the Secretary.
All right, guys, Barry says Iran will just get a worse new leader. We have zero chance of installing a pro-West government.
Secretary at the Pentagon this morning, again expressing his condolences to these families. And I just told you that the President of the United States will be attending their dignified transfer. So please,
that's not making the president look bad. That's showcasing that.
We expect you to cover that as you should. We expect you to cover that as you should, Caitlin. But you and your network know that you take every single thing this administration says and tries to use it to make the president look bad. That is an objectable fact.
I don't think covering troop deaths is trying to make.
If you're trying to argue right now that CNN's overwhelming coverage is not negative of President Donald Trump, I think the American people would tend to agree, and your ratings would tend to disagree with that as well. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. On the school
Sure.
strike, back to that for a minute. I understand that the U.S. does not target civilian infrastructure. That's what you said. Can you say that there's any evidence right now that it was not a U.S. strike? And then also, you didn't mention Israel in that. Is there any assessment about Israel's potential likely role in that, if at all?
Again, the Department of War is currently investigating this matter, but again, I will reaffirm that the Department of War and the United States Armed Forces do not target civilians, as does the Iranian regime.
Okay, she's definitely breaking it down. Lisa says Hegseth said Jesus sent Trump to start Armageddon. I actually saw that snippet of that yesterday in regards to preparing the military, that this could start Armageddon. There could be a lot of bloodshed, and that Jesus would be leading the way. That's what the troops are being told, allegedly, according to the big media.
Who kill and execute their own people. Christian.
Okay, so that's one big debate we had yesterday. I'm going to show you another one in regarding to the committee. Let's check this out. This is this is a big back and forth.
I believe you have a policy, Madam Secretary, that you have to approve all contracts at your department over $100 million.
No, sir. I have a policy in place that I review contracts. My deputy chiefs have the ability to review anything under $5 million. Above that, I evaluate and look at.
Okay. And you do that, I understand, to try to curb waste and abuse of taxpayer money. Is that right?
Yes, sir. In fact, it's been extremely effective. We've saved the taxpayers over $13.2 billion just.
Now, this is getting to the fraud that we've seen out in Minnesota. Marissa says the people of Iran are so thankful. They are hoping to become a democracy again. So I'm happy for them, but he has gone about it wrong. It is illegal, so I don't think it should be happening. Okay, thank you, Marissa. We hear you loud and clear.
By evaluating contracts, negotiating lower ones, and canceling ones that aren't necessary to do our duties.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive.
Guys, let's take a moment. Lisa says, and this is very clear, Trump did say all is well on the war front. I will find the quote if needed. Okay, thank you for that, Lisa. Penny says, during Obama administration, the U.S. military dropped over 92,000 bees. Okay, thank you.
Bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota. Is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
Show us the money. This is a big money search. What's really happening? They're getting to the bottom of it. One Love says Iran was on the spectrum since 1979 when Iran released the 13 black hostages of the 66 that was captured. Reagan even negotiated to release the hostages after he won to make Carter look bad. Thank you for a bit of history, One Love. Good to see you back.
Okay. And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do
OMB.
this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
Well, they were
overwhelmingly
effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just, I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. And and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them.
$220 million on ads. My, oh my.
That he would have agreed to that. I don't think Russ Vogt at OMB would have agreed to that. It's something we have to defend. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. My research shows that you did not bid them out, that you pick, in fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked them, and that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson. Look, we all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. It troubles me. A fifth to a quarter of $1 billion of taxpayer money when we're scratching for every penny and we're fighting over rescission packages. I just can't agree with Madam Secretary. Are you still running those ads?
No, Senator, I did not have anything to do with picking those contractors. I know politicals at the Department of Homeland Security did.
I understand. Are you
Rear
still running
officials
those
followed
ads?
the competitive bid process for
Are you
that.
still running
Everything
those
was,
ads?
I think the ads are due to end here in March, I think within a week
So
or two.
they
I'm
are
not sure of the
still running?
update. The one that is running is focusing on angel families. Have you seen that? It is the one that's talking about this is our why. This is why we work every day.
Okay.
Is for the angel
I've gotta
families
move
and their
on.
victims that need to.
Okay, so you get an idea of some of the fraud that's being alleged throughout the world. He was asking some great questions. He seems to always be a person that peers in whenever they have these committee meetings. There's a big threat, not only to the United States, but to humans in general. And that's in regards to these drones that are able to pretty much take out a lot of people. And in many cases, I believe in Iran, they make 500 of these drones a day. They have been very effective with Russia in the Ukraine war. And it's just a matter of time before we have to deal with it here in the United States. Let's take a look at that.
Exxon founder and CEO Rick Smith.
And guys, please hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thank you.
Rick, drones are not new in combat, but Ukraine has been using them for years against the Russians. What is new is that the Iranians are not using their Air Force. They're using these drones. What is that telling you?
I mean, this is the most fast evolving security threat on Earth. And what's interesting about drones is it's a military threat. It can be a threat to your Friday night high school football game. You know, the drones range from the large military drones you showed, the Shaheds, which, by the way, those are not new to the Ukrainians. The Russians have been importing those, and then they reverse engineered them, or I think they licensed the design, and they've been hammering Ukrainian cities with hundreds, like 500 or 600 of these drones a night. And so, yeah, it's an incredibly fast-paced moving area. And it's one where we have evolved with our D-drone solution, because, again, this is not something you just need to protect military bases. You know, you see these hotels in Dubai, this is a threat that can literally happen just about anywhere, ranging from $1,000 drone a hobbyist could make and put an explosive on to these large.
Did you guys see those drones dropping out of the sky in certain places? In places like Dubai, a place that I've been to before. You know, you go on vacation, you spend a load of money, and imagine while you're on vacation, all of a sudden you're experiencing all of these explosions. You're stuck in the airport for so long. This is quite the event.
Larger military drones.
How does your drone system work?
So what we really focus on is having a network of sensors that you can deploy across entire cities. So we protect most of the major sports stadiums in the United States. We protect some of the homes of various Fortune 500 CEOs, offices, data centers. And so we have not put our primary focus on military. We've been focusing on critical infrastructure, enterprises.
Lisa says, yes, Trump said he already took care of the nukes in Iran weeks ago. I believe back in September when they did the operation, what was it, Midnight Hammer? That's when they shut down pretty much the nukes. So thank you for that reiteration.
And that's because a few years ago, the military wasn't very focused on these smaller drones. But now, after Ukraine's Spiderweb, if you saw that last year, they took a fleet of small $1,000 hobbyist drones and destroyed about a third of Russia's nuclear bomber fleet. Well, that same threat could come to the U.S. military as well. So we've been very focused on making sure this network of sensors can integrate across large areas and then be able to also data share between, for example, a sports stadium with the local police, with the Department of War.
How close are you with the Ukrainians? Are you working with them to use drone?
We are, for sure. We have hundreds of sensors across Ukraine. I actually was in a bunker in Ukraine when the Iran war broke out. I was there this past weekend. I think it's, critically important that the West do a better job of supporting the defense of freedom and democracy. And I also think there's an incredible amount we can learn. But if we're not in Ukraine, then we're not really in the drone and counter-drone business, because that's where things are moving at an incredible cycle.
I did not even know that the drone is used in sports stadiums. It makes perfect sense, but this all makes me a little nervous. I know that Warren Buffett in the past said the most worrisome thing that nags at him day and night is not that there will be some financial crisis. It's not that. It's that somebody will attach a dirty bomb to a drone and blow it up over a stadium. He's often said that. He's really worried about the nuclear weaponry problem and all that. So why aren't we not doing that with the U.S. military? They should be calling you, should they not? I know they have their own systems as well, but are you making any inroads there?
Well, for sure, the U.S. military is focused on this. And there are some other companies like Anduril that's doing some of the more high-end, larger interceptions that are more military focused. Our role, we see, is really connecting the broader interior of the United States, the border, not just military bases, but again, like Warren Buffett is pointing out, these threats could hit anywhere.
Okay, Jay says America is over. We won't last 3 more years like this. Wow, that's a pretty tough statement there.
And we're not going to have enough DoD assets to protect, hotels and sports stadiums and all of that. So we're really focused on making sure we get the detection layer in place. And then there are some legal changes that need to happen in the United States, because right now, your local police department is not allowed to directly stop a drone in the air. They can go arrest the pilot, but I think when you realize that any malintended person with a 3D printer and access to the internet could make a weaponized drone and fly it into a Friday night high school football game, you realize we need to have a much better capability for all of our public safety agencies to be able to take out these threats, because it's not just the military anymore.
Rick, I'm glad that your team is working on this and that it's already out there helping to keep people safe. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's a lot to think about. The dangers, the technology that's come out. It started off with the drones being a nice way to see from a higher level, but just a matter of time. Just like with AI, you can only imagine what it will be used to do to be on the offense of other men, to take lives and so forth. But now we're going to see how different people, because of the drones, because of the campaign that's happening in the Middle East, some people are stuck in different places, Americans, that is.
Department racing to get thousands of Americans safely out of the region, telling News Nation just moments ago that approximately 1,600 Americans have reached out for assistance and that the U.S. is chartering flights as we speak. Among those stranded, a Texas woman who was in Dubai celebrating her birthday with a friend when the strikes began. The pair were supposed to
This will definitely be a birthday she will never forget, right?
already be back home at this point, but their original flight was canceled and rebooking has been a nightmare. So let's welcome her in. Shanice Day joins us live now from Dubai. Shanice, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. First of all, what's your current situation? When were you originally scheduled to leave and go home? And where are you staying as you wait to get out?
Well, first off, thank you, Nicole, for having me and just really bringing attention to this situation. So I was originally supposed to go home on March the 1st at 5:30 a.m. The first bombing was on February.
Okay, guys, here we have a conservative, Republican speaking, says, I served, and this is Seraph, right? Says, I served the U.S. military in 2 foreign wars. I am a Reagan Republican. I know the Constitution, and that's how I understand that we have a Second Amendment obligation to remove Trump from our nation. Wow, that comes from a conservative, okay.
The 28th. So that's how it kind of deterred me from going home on that early morning on March the 1st.
All right, so you were supposed to leave early Sunday morning. Here it is now Wednesday. I know it's you are ahead of us as far as time, but where are you staying? Are you able to stay in your hotel?
So I am staying in my hotel. The video that you're showing, that is going to be my hotel where they had us on the bunker. So I'm just staying in my room. It's been it's calmed down a lot in the hotel. The first night, well, the first 48 nights here, it was tough. It was very chaotic. People were sleeping on the floor. One man went up to the concierge, was like, "Can I please get a room? My daughter's sleeping on the floor." But we were able to luck up and still stay in our room.
I'm so glad to hear that. So we know, Shanice, there was a drone strike at the U.S. consulate in Dubai yesterday. We know the Trump administration is saying they're working to help stranded Americans. I want to just listen to some of what we heard yesterday from the Secretary of State.
Here's the message I want to deliver Americans who are in the Middle East and in need of assistance. It is very important, and I ask this of the networks as well. It is important for you to please put both the website and the phone numbers on your screens, because we need people. We need to know where you are. We need to know. We need to have contact information for Americans that need assistance.
Seems like Marco Rubio is always on the move, along with the president, traveling. Every time you turn around, they're in a different place. You know, I know the girl in the background. Wow, she's a D.C. police officer. I just recognized her. She's actually here she's from New York. Wow, that's amazing. I just saw her. Okay, so Julia says, I would never suggest anyone put their child on the front line of war. What has happened to people in this country, that they have such hate in their hearts that they would wish this on anyone. Okay, so we get some pushback there. Thank you, Julia. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Grumpy says, Seraph, it is a federal offense to threaten a U.S. president. Sometimes we allow our emotions to get the best of us, and it costs us everything in life. That's some good admonition. Thank you very much, Grumpy, for your opinion as well. Guys, check out Grumpy's channel. He has some really nice skits there. He's a strong supporter of Watching the World, and I would like for everybody to support him as well. Stella, could you please post his channel in the chat so our dear watchers can go check him out and give him some solid support? Okay, thank you, Murray, for being here. Murray says, we have an all-volunteer military now. No one should have to serve if they don't want to. Unlike when I grew up with the draft. Murray, what a great way to express that. I like having you around, Murray. Thank you for your comment. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Okay, thank you. Let's get back to it.
Have to register with us, because as these options begin to open up, and as they open up, we have to be able to call you, we have to be able to reach you, we have to be able to know where you're staying, so we can get this information to you and coordinate appropriately.
So, I don't want to point anybody out, but this police officer used to work for me. This is amazing. Look at here. I'm going to have to reach out to her today. But she's a police officer right here in the back. You see the girl in the far right here? She's actually from my neighborhood. That's amazing.
They have to register with us because as these options begin to open up, and as they open up, we have to be able to call you, we have to be able to reach you, we have to be able to know where you're staying so we can get this information to you and coordinate appropriately.
All right, Shani, so are you registered with the State Department? Have you called? Have you gone to the website? Has it been helpful?
Yes, so we have been registered with the STEP program for quite some time now. I actually reached out to that 202 number and I was told that there wouldn't be any assistance. They told me just to take shelter. So I feel
Usually, guys, I don't try to, give my opinion too much, and I don't try to push a narrative, and I definitely don't respond a lot to negative comments. But today I felt like it was very important to express. Here at Watching the World, a lot of people are Republican, a lot of people are independent, Democrats. We're all just trying to have a unbiased discussion, even though you're entitled to how you feel about it. But the environment is such that you can come in and have friendly conversations, or even sometimes you might get a little bit testy, but we don't want to elevate it to the point like we saw with Charlie Kirk, where you get so upset with someone that you want to go and cause them harm. It's very important for us to have these type of discussions in this day and age, because sometimes when we only hang around with people who think as we do, there's no room for growth, because often growth is tested and it comes from being tested, right? A lot of times you might feel like you have the best dish in the world, right? And so you put in all the ingredients, just like your grandmother, your mother, and you feel like you can make the best cake, the best pie, the best dish, but you don't know what that dish is about until you apply the heat. When you put it in the oven, you put it on the stove, you apply a crucible, now you understand what the outcome will be, and sometimes it may not be what you want. Or sometimes if you leave it on the heat too long, it may not be what you want. So that's the idea here. We have an environment of friendliness, not hostile environment. It's so easy to get that. You could get that just by taking a trip to Walmart. People are so mad. Everybody in traffic is so mad. We're just trying to have a good environment where we can test ideas and elevate together, even though we might have different beliefs. You might worship a different God. You might live in a different state. You might be from a different country. But it's possible for us to have some sort of unity, and let's see if we can accomplish that. Thank you.
like we're getting two different messages from what's being portrayed and what's actually being said to the citizens.
And how recently did you call and get the message that you should just take shelter?
I called at 2:58 Dubai time today.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what is your plan right now then? Are you confident that
All right, so now we're going to switch up a little bit. We're going to get to Nancy Guthrie for our few remaining minutes that we have, and see if we can figure out perhaps is there any new updates that would be beneficial in regards to her case. Let's check it out. Nancy Guthrie, bring her home.
Had a lot of people trying to help, and meantime, we have new details on the story we first brought you last night. In an exclusive interview with News 4 Tucson's Eric Fink, a retired DEA agent who now leads a group dedicated to finding missing people, as well as a step closer to helping authorities in the search for Nancy Guthrie. After our story aired, Kelly Snyder says he got a phone call from a PCSD detective on the Guthrie investigation, as well as the FBI. For more than 20 years.
Hello, Sharon.
Snyder has run Find Me Group Incorporated. The pro bono organization is made up of more than 100 experts who work with law enforcement to find the missing. Since its founding more than 20 years ago, Find Me Group has helped solve more than 130 missing persons cases and 16 homicides. The group is hopeful the information it's collected voluntarily can help in the Nancy Guthrie investigation.
And for continuing coverage on the search for Nancy, stay with News 4 Tucson on air, online, and on our social media.
So again, you have a lot of qualified individuals trying to work on this case, trying to crack the code. On any given day when you watch the big media, you'll see retired FBI agents and so forth and so on, and they all have a different perspective on what happened to her. But I'm still amazed at how the local sheriff of Pima County, he's really pushing back. He doesn't want a lot of people really going out searching. Even the Navy group that wanted to come in, they're still trying to get a sufficient answer from that sheriff as to why or when they can go out and search for Nancy. But if she was truly a kidnapping case, time would be of the essence, right? Because you're trying to find her while her life is still there. So when we hear, I actually showed you guys the other night, the very first press conference that the sheriff had, he mentioned how they brought in the homicide unit and how this was a crime scene. And so we're starting to hear more and more of those type of ideas when it comes from the sheriff, more than a kidnapping or something of that sort. So we have to keep our eyes and ears open to try to figure out what really happened in regards to this case. But I don't feel like we're getting the whole and truthful story from all of the different sources that are uniquely involved with this case. But let's look at it from a different angle. Another report that came out today.
Continue to track the investigation for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Today is day 31 in that search.
The Pima County Sheriff's Department says a team of homicide detectives and the FBI working several leads now in the effort to solve that case that has now been handed over to a task force. That task force consists of 5 Pima County homicide detectives as well as FBI agents. We're told the investigators will be operating out of the Tucson FBI office as authorities continue to investigate leads, tips, and videos. Sheriff Kristi Noem says at this point, they're less in the evidence collection phase and more in the analysis of everything collected so far.
We have information on this case that we think is going to hopefully lead us to solving this case. But it takes time. My team can now focus on what's really the meat and potatoes.
Would you guys believe that the sheriff and the local Pima County is still the primary on this case over the feds, the FBI? You have to wonder why this case hasn't been turned over to the FBI with all their resources, especially with the fact that it doesn't appear that a lot of progress has been made. We still don't have, I was there for over a week, boots on the ground. We still don't have the vehicle, any clear distinction or description of a vehicle. We still, a lot of information they don't want to share. I get that. But we don't have any idea like what type of person it could have been, their profile, any of that. So you would think that the FBI would be all over this. I know when I was leaving town, I told you guys, I ran into the Homeland Security who were going into Mexico, and the agent actually said they kind of felt like the person that did this had some sort of inside information, so that's intriguing. But the fact that they felt like she was in Mexico, maybe that's the reason why, because while I was there, I did not see any major organized searching for Nancy Guthrie. I never really saw the FBI even searching or coming around. It was more of the local sheriff department. So we have to wonder, why is this the case?
It is this case, and that is who it is that was in that video and who took Nancy Guthrie.
Tonight, more than a month into the search, a Louisiana nonprofit says they're ready to bring resources to help find the missing 84-year-old. That group, the United Cajun Navy, says they've sent several plans to the sheriff's office explaining what they can bring and how they can.
All right, so let's just get a feel from the audience. We have quite a few people here, over 200. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. But put a 1 in the chat if you think that ultimately it was a family member or a close associate that's responsible for her going missing, or put a 2 if you feel like the person was random or a complete stranger that somehow planned to get this done. Let's see what you guys have to say in regards to this. A 1 if you think it's an inside job, a 2 if you think it was an outside job. Let's see.
Can help. News 4 Tucson's Andrew Capasso has more on those proposed plans and what the sheriff's department is saying.
The United Cajun Navy's been around for almost 20 years. They're coming off a visit here to Tucson and now waiting to hear from people here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. They say they're ready to bring resources from across the country and
So you hear that? They're ready to go. They brought in all these resources, but guess what? They're on hold waiting to hear from the sheriff. Like, what's going on here?
some cases around the world to help bring Nancy Guthrie home.
The need for closure. There needs to be some closure, not only for the family, but for the community as well.
Josh Gill is an incident commander with the United Cajun Navy. He says there is a list of resources they could bring to help pin down where Nancy Guthrie is and is not.
Within that tactical plan, that outlines resources that we have, resources that are available, and then it defines how we'll fall into the command and control or under the command and control, the C2 element of the Sheriff's Department or the lead investigating agency.
Some of those resources.
Okay, Mashona, thank you very much. She says the views and opinions expressed in this chat are those of the person expressing them and do not reflect the views of the host. Thank you very much, Mashona, for all you do. Okay, Braylon says no civilian war is happening. Neither is World War III. We hear that a lot, but we get some pushback. Thank you for that. Grumpy says, thank you, Mel. I appreciate it. Nice having you here, too. Let's see what Jason says. Islam is a terrible institution. Okay. Well, we're about to find out more about Islam in the coming days, weeks, and years. I can only imagine that. Animal says, I remember Obama and Hillary, what happened in Benghazi, and the withdrawal Biden-Harris did in Afghanistan. I support my president always. Thank you.
Include drones, more boots on the ground, and different types of dogs.
We have live track dogs, for instance, and specific scent dogs.
Todd Terrell is founder and president of United Cajun Navy.
We're people helping people, with their own resources. But I think right now, going on the month that it's been happening, I think, in my experience, it should be an all hands on deck. And it should be just like, let's go in there and let's bring her home.
Something Gill says can start a healing process he says is desperately needed.
It needs to start, and I think it's going to start with, finding additional information and finding Miss Guthrie one way or the other.
And I asked the Pima County Sheriff's Department about this plan, and while they say they can't comment on every individual group, they did point me to a statement from a couple of weeks ago. Take a look. They say, quote, we appreciate their concern and we all want to find Nancy, but this work is best left to professionals. They say PCSD has volunteer opportunities if they wish to get involved with the department. Private property laws apply. It is up to each individual property owner to grant permission for anyone to be on their property. The United Cajun Navy says because of the sensitivity of this case, they are striving to get the blessing of the sheriff.
This reporter that's on the screen, he actually interviewed me while I was out at Nancy Guthrie's home. Pretty nice guy. He kept his word, so I agreed to engage in the interview. Turned out to be well. A lot of local people came over just to say, we appreciate you coming out and we support you. That's how we were able to pick up a lot of locals. As far as Arizona and here at Watching the World, it's a beautiful thing to have local people from all over, especially boots on the ground out there in Tucson, Arizona. Roy says, why force someone to join if they don't want to? That's a very good opinion. I mean, listen, the guy has a right. What if he don't even want to get involved in politics? Like, we can't just put people in a box simply because that's how we feel about a matter. All right. So at any rate, I'm going to get through a few of the comments before we take off out of here just to see what you guys have to say. All right. Let's see here. Deborah says we want to be kind and challenged here. Okay. Thank you very much, Deborah, for sharing your words. Stephanie says because that is how America is set up. Thank you, Stephanie, for being here. Thank you for subscribing too. Jen says I just don't want to live in a shutdown. Was also speaking to everyone and keep us all safe. Okay. Georgia says unnecessary situation, prayers for the soldiers. Okay, so you feel like what's happening in Iran is very unnecessary. Jesus says one true God is Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, so we have someone speaking about Jesus today. AI says Europe is very dangerous to travel right now. I have a trip planned out there and I just don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. I have to think about it twice before traveling these days. Okay. All right. We have Opum says, no one is expected to serve in the military. I served 21 years and was not expected to. Okay. That's a good way of looking at it. And we can't push our own agenda on other people. Stephanie says, in God we trust. Amen and amen. Okay, thank you. Deborah says, soldiers that fought for freedom were drafted by the government. They didn't choose to, but they did. Okay, great point. Jen says, I still wonder if she was taken from the animal after being dumped. Okay, so you think she was dumped and some animals took her. That's a different perspective. I haven't heard that one yet. Thank you for your comment. Honeybee says, using the word G will not get the stream taken down. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. If you notice, Stella put up Grumpy's channel. So if you don't mind, go check out his channel. Give the brother some good support. He's been very effective here at Watching the World, giving us support. And we want to show him some love too. I'll start, but definitely check him out. He's trying to get to 50. Let's help him get there, folks. I think you won't be disappointed. Jen says, I've been in the lives to see them get the shutdown. Sorry if I have respect for Mel. Okay, thank you. No need to be sorry. What's happening in our chat? I don't know. I missed it if there was something outrageous. Perhaps I must have missed that, but thank you. Marco says America found their self-destructive mode in Trump, the dumbest idiot they have had as a president. Even Bush Jr. is more smarter. Wow. Not a fan of Donald Trump, I take it. Honeybee says it's okay. I just checked. That's why I shared. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for all these comments. I'm just trying to get in a few more before we take off for the day. Cindy says, I think she is somewhere in the basement or in a hole next door. It doesn't make sense. No tracks. Very good point. Good point. Maybe something that should be looked at closer. Gent says maybe they allow it now. They didn't used to. Okay. Seems like that's a military type of statement. Animal says, I feel safer and better knowing Trump is in control than the 4 years of Biden and Harris. Okay, I can understand. Jeff says, can the chat move on? Okay, must have been a tough discussion. I missed that one. Okay, Mashona says, did you remember to hit the like button and also hit the hearts? That's amazing. It's a free way to support the channel. Thank you. AI Star C says, because the county sheriff is La Costa Nostra. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you guys for tuning in today. We covered a lot of ground as regards to the hot topics that are happening around. Honeybee says that's an important point, Mel. Okay, thank you very much. Lisa says, I mentioned G in another chat and their mods asked me to stop, so whatever. Okay, yes, we are mindful of the words that are being used because YouTube is a little bit interesting when it comes to different words and concepts, and then they'll take your channel down if you're not adhering to the admonition about being conscious about what you're saying. And also, thank you, Stella, for keeping everybody together. It's very important. Okay, I think that's it today. I think that's it for the comments. I see the numbers going up. Okay, thank you. Caprello says, wow, millions of dollars for this lady. Yes, indeed. There was a lot of money that went toward their advertising. Okay, that's it, folks. I don't see anything else in the comments, any questions or anything. Let me go to the very bottom. Okay, Marissa says, thanks for offering the news and encouraging civil discussion. All right, thank you very much. Caprello says, Mel, you are black. You can do whatever you want. Okay, not sure what that's all about, but at any rate, thank you. All right. AI says the left upset that Jasmine Crockett is a loser. Yes, indeed. She lost. A lot of people are upset about that. They were hoping she could win. All right. So we had so much to cover. Seems that people are saying that Barron Trump should be able to do whatever he wants to do in regards to the military. You can't really hold him to the fire because his father is in politics, or that means he should have to go to the military. That's the overall sentiment that we had today. Good day, everybody. Thank you very much for all the participation today. And again, I couldn't do this if you guys didn't support the channel. It amazes me that we get so many people coming back to share these discussions that affect us on so many different levels in life, especially even with many of us may not being involved in the military, but I guarantee you we know someone that's being affected by being over there fighting for the country, and our hearts go out to these individuals that are probably very, very concerned as to what the future may bring because they're out there fighting. Even the people that are traveling, that are stuck in Dubai, they probably never thought they would be facing such an event. When you're in the airport and you hear those strikes and you see places being set ablaze, all of that has to have you shaking in your boots. I don't really care who you are. To see that happen in a place that you're unfamiliar with has to be quite the scenario. Gold Digger, welcome in. Good to see you here as well. Thank you guys. Have a great day. And I hope you guys can tune back in tonight. We have Mama Flips coming in. We know that Mama Flips is very vocal on her positions about politics and everything else, but it's important for all of us to be able to speak our minds as long as we do so in a respectful manner and we don't try to retaliate on other people because they think differently, so much so that we want to go out and do them harm or some sort of violence. That seems to be the way of the world today, but many of us do not subscribe to that type of behavior. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. talking about politics. We'll be talking about the latest news and doing some follow-up on some of the court cases that are in New York City and also some of the federal cases that will be coming down the pipeline. Be well, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Building a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.